Hello, hello from beautiful Greece. I'm in Athens this summer, and I'm really excited to be doing this live on my own. This is Tatiana. I'm in the southern eastern part of the coast of Attica, where Athens is. It's a beautiful evening here. And as you're coming into the show, I'd love to know where you're coming in from. Many of you quite often are from all over the world, which is always really exciting. And then after we run the lives, we see and get comments from people that watch the recording. So if you're not able to see this live, we'll have a recording for you. So this June, I created a newsletter that talks all about building rapport. And I talk a lot about communication and finding strength in your voice, making an impact, making an impression, making sure that people remember you when you introduce yourself. So it could be on a personal level, on a professional level. And I thought it would be important to talk about rapport building, which is an art, it's a skill, and it definitely can be learned. When you think about building rapport, I just attended a friend's wedding, a really sweet wedding in a hard to get to island. So there were a lot of planes and boats and buses and ways to get there. And I thought to myself, all the different ways of building rapport kind of played out there. So, for example, I went alone. I was not accompanied by anyone, and I didn't know many people there. But I went out of my way to get to say hello and say many people, the parents knew about me. So there was an easier connection to walk up to them and start chatting with them. But I would stand next to people and say, "Where are you coming in from?" Or "Have you enjoyed your day?" Or "Were you there at the pre wedding party yesterday?" I found myself creating conversation because I kind of had to. And I didn't know where I was seated at the dinner party. And that, after the beautiful wedding at the dinner party, there were several of us. They were positioned together, all the people from the United States. So that was really easy because we shared context. And of course, we shared the time that we knew each other with our friend Aris, who was married. So when you are building rapport, today we're going to talk, we'll do a mini workshop. We'll talk specifically about building rapport in a professional setting. And if you are in this session, my guess is that you want to sharpen your skills. Someone might say, it takes too much energy. I'm too much of an introvert. I can't stand it. So I'm not going to do it at all. I'm not here to persuade you that you should try to build rapport with others. But I'll tell you for sure what I know is that the more you sharpen your skills and the more you have the energy to put out there and connect with others and create some relationships, you're going to build trust. You're going to improve your communication and it's going to come in handy. So whether you are a young professional, whether you're seasoned and you're switching industries, or whether you are a student and you're just in your internship or entering your first job, these rapport building skills are super, super helpful for you. But enough about all this introduction. I'm going to put on my glasses because I'd love for you to share in the notes where you're coming in from. So I know a little bit of what to reference. And as you're doing this, I'll tell you one of the things that I've learned in changing contexts, and I've shared this in my Communicating Across Cultures class. I talk a lot about communicating or starting conversations when you are in a new place. So in culture, we talk about the cultural iceberg. We're at the top of the iceberg, of the things that you see in a culture that are clearly what make cultures rich and what makes us fall in love with them, like the music in a country, the food in a country, the sports entertainment or the history, the art, and all of the customs and all of the differences culturally that are there. And what I recommend as you travel, you pick on that tip of the iceberg and you talk about things that you may have or you may be interested in about others. Your whole point with building rapport is to make a connection. And if it's appropriate, you want to make a connection that starts maybe a 2 to 3 minute conversation, or maybe it's a quick hello. So I thought about sharing this since I'm in Greece and maybe a little easier for me to remember and for you to do that. So again, as you're coming in, tell us where you're from, and I can get a little bit of a sense of what the context is where we are. As we get started, I thought I would share a really funny commercial that I saw. with creating and building rapport, and maybe with people you don't know at all, it may be with people you share a context with, or it may be with people you don't know at all. You're in a common context, but you professionally want to create a conversation. But then there's sort of the category of its own where you see someone who doesn't know you, but you know who they are. And I thought MasterCard did a masterful job of a commercial where a woman sees her pop idol in the elevator and doesn't say anything. Let's roll that, Shelby.
So last month, I was in a hotel elevator with, you're never going to believe this, Mary J. Blige. I just wanted to scream. What's the 411 changed my life? I've seen you in concert 5 times. I sing your songs in the shower. I even know your birthday, January 11th. Problem was, my mouth didn't work.
Now, every time you use a participating Citi card.
All right, my mouth didn't work. Have you ever seen people that you know are celebrities and all of a sudden you're like, I cherish all your work. I've seen all of your movies and you have nothing to say. Now, mind you, the people, by the way, I was in the island where Tom Hanks has a house and I thought, what would I say if I see him? Maybe I should say nothing. Leave the man alone. But maybe I should say, love your movies. Thanks for building a house in Greece. So I would think of something to say that I would be relevant, or maybe I wouldn't say anything at all. That probably would be a reference to Mary J. Blige for me that would happen to me in the week past. But when you see, and that's a funny show, building rapport is not with people that are famous people. Now we're talking for everyday interactions, especially in the work world. So let's look at the first slide that talks a little bit about Los Angeles. Didi, thank you for joining in, and Hawaii, as you mentioned. Rapport is really important. I think I've seen this research in LinkedIn. Over 80% of opportunities come through networking. So you're joining today to learn a few skills on how to improve your rapport building, and you will need those to up your networking game. And so what I will try to do, like I did in the newsletter, is tell you a little bit about different kinds of rapport. They're going to go from easier to harder, and then talk a little bit about how to improve your skills. So it's the foundation of life, people connecting. Again, if you need to sharpen this skill, this is something that's important to do. And also, it's the entry point for you being influential, for you being memorable, for you being a person who people will want to say, what was her name again? She had a lot of good energy and specifics. So the first kind of rapport, if we think a little bit about what are the different kinds as we change the slide here, is, I have a friend coming in from India. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I know it's nighttime there. So today we'll talk about simple rapport that's easy, like the people that I was sitting with at the wedding at the table, because we all knew the groom and we all were from the United States. Impromptu rapport, this is a little bit sort of being on your feet. This is a commonality that you may have sort of in the moment in a context. And what we'll spend the most time on looking at custom rapport, intentional rapport where you as the connector have to make more of an effort to stay connected. So when we think of simple rapport, we think of easy rapport. Again, me at a wedding, or me going to an event where I know some of the people, or maybe you're going to a family reunion, a high school reunion. So the definition of that specifically is that shared context, and it makes it easier to connect with people there. Let's look at the slide there, Shelby, that we have it, right? So you have a shared environment, so that may be work or family. So I'd like for you to think about, how do you connect in your next meeting? For example, ask an open-ended question of a person. France and Portugal, love it that you're joining. This is such an international group all the time. So if you're thinking of building rapport with someone, it's easier to do if you're in a common context and striking up a conversation. So ask an open-ended question. How is your week going? Or how long did it take you to get here? Would be a question that I asked at the wedding because it was hard to get to. I want to have an open body language. I want to use good eye contact, but it's also important to look for that from the person I'm connecting with. It's pretty critical to not just walk up to a person that looks as they are engaged. They are looking at their phone, or maybe they're reading. You don't want to be that annoying person at the airport to stick your head around the book and say, are you having a good day? So it's important to look for signs, usually in a common context place. I would add sporting events where you're all going to attend the same game. That's a common context. Or where you are with your children at a specific sporting event. So see this as the easy training arena where if you're not much of a talker and a connector, that would be the place to ask an open-ended question. An open-ended question would not be, is the game going to end soon? It's the yes or no. Or an open-ended question may be, did you watch the beginning of the game? How's the team doing? That's an open-ended question. If you are at a company picnic, you want to say, how long have you been with the company and what do you like about it? So that's an open-ended question where the other person is not going to say yes or no. So I'd like for you, if you're thinking of these contexts, to make it a goal and say, at the next event, I'm going to strike up a conversation with 3 people, and I want the back and forth to go on 2 to 3 minutes. That's a difficult one. And I'll give you some pointers as we proceed. Again, that's an easy, private setting that can happen. The second part with simple rapport that we talked about, it is the same context, is impromptu rapport. So now you're going to be ready. I'm going to quiz you in a little bit. Impromptu means you strike up a conversation with someone that the context is not common and you don't know them as much. Samuel, thanks for joining us. I think you've seen your name before in the lives. So you have some commonality. Maybe it's something you see them wearing a sweatshirt that's from your city, or when you travel quite often, you maybe see your school, your university. I was wearing, both of our kids went to different universities, and whenever I wear a shirt or a sweatshirt from their schools, I end up talking with someone because someone says, did you go there? And I say, no, but my son did. So in a neutral location, comment on a shared item that you have with the person and keep the conversation going for 2 to 3 minutes. Now, the exercise I'm going to give you is not something you should do in 2 to 3 minutes because that's an elevator training exercise. So earlier I said the arena may be the common context, workplace, kids sporting events. It could be a barbecue, or it could be some place where I was at a wedding. This one, you don't know the people as well, but pay attention to them and see if you can make a comment. I'm not telling you to start up too long of a conversation about the person. So I have 4 pictures I'm going to show you, and I want you to get on the comments and say one comment, one thing that you would say. Let's roll the first one. So you see this person in the elevator. She's making eye contact, she's smiling, and she's holding some notebooks. Would you say anything? She makes eye contact. And if you did, what would you say? I'm going to give you just a split of a second so I can take a sip of water. Shelby coming in from Tennessee. So you see this lady in the elevator. She walks in, you're in the elevator. Besides saying good morning, Hermione is in Dallas, Texas, and she's originally from Greece. Talk about culture shock, Hermione. We can talk about that at a different time. So what would you say to this lady in the elevator? Some of you may say just a good morning is good enough. And if you feel that you're not trained in this rapport building category, saying a good morning or hello and making eye contact is perfect. Monreco is saying, what are you studying? Perfect. I would say, good morning. Is it a heavy study week? So you keep that as an open-ended question. Remember, you don't have to go back and forth for too long, but get yourself trained in doing that. Telesila, Galostin. Telesila says, hi, good morning. Are you heading to a meeting? So you keep the conversation like that. Very nice, because she's giving you a clue by holding the papers, right? If she wasn't making eye contact and she was looking at her phone, or looking at the numbers at the top of the elevator, which people tend to do. Again, I want you to feel more comfortable and get better at saying something. So excellent. Kicking off a question. Let's see the next person, and I'll tell you why the next person is the easiest person to have a conversation with, right? Children and pets make for conversation starters. Anyone that walks into an elevator, at least for me, a blonde little boy like that, I'd be like, oh, is his hair always been this full? Or how old is he? Or is he doing this? Is he doing that? Children and pets always make a connection. Is there something else you would say? Probably the mom would not be, if you caught her jumping in an elevator like this, I don't know, if I was schlepping kids around, I usually was not that open and smiley faced. Would you say anything else to her? Or would you think of making a connection? I would may say add how old he is, or make a comment. Hello, Eunice joining in from Ghana. What comment would you make? You can make a comment about his cute little shirt. Like, that's black. It looks so cute on him. How cute are you? Exactly. Just make a comment. But again, your job is making that connection. Excellent. So easy with cats, easy with babies, easy with pets, dogs, probably not cats. I have two more, I think. Say you see this fine young man, and you may think, he's heading to the gym. I always, when I see someone with a logo from a team on a sweatshirt or a hat, would you say anything? And Yanni, we wouldn't say to this young man, how cute are you? We keep that for the little kid, but what would we say to him? Or what open-ended question can we say? I'll wait for you to jump in. I think that's a New York team, right? So I would say, have they played? Has your team played well this year? Again, it's a yes or no question. Or did you go to the latest game? If you know something about baseball, you can ask a more specific question. But when someone is wearing a sweatshirt or a place or a school, I might just say, how are you? To test the waters. Shelby, perfect. Again, eye contact, how are you? And that works. I have one more for you, and this is a little trickier. And it's this gentleman. Nice team, Enzo says. Yes, of course, make a comment. And like your hat, yes. And then you may think, is that a baseball team or a football team? But you don't have to know that. So you see someone here. What inspired your tattoo? Samuel, I love that, because a lot of people talk about an open-ended question on this one. A lot of people with tattoos love to talk about them. There's always a story. There's always a background of intention behind them. And you can get people talking for a long time with that. And especially if also you have a tattoo that you're asking about, that's the commonality. Excellent. Thank you. I see here now, you see this gentleman walking in and reading the paper. Maybe on this one, he's not making eye contact. So if he looks up and says hello, or nods at you, or you smile, then leave it to that. And I put this picture here, and Miani says, hi, anything interesting in the news? Excellent. Test it. Remember, the elevator is going to stop. You won't see these people again, and you've practiced your rapport building. Very, very, very good. Thank you for sharing these, Shelby. I appreciate it. So with intentional rapport and impromptu, especially if you're not a person that tends to be very, very talkative and feel very comfortable, think about kicking off and warming up in the safety of the elevator. You can practice some of this when you're in a new city, when you are going to a conference, when you are traveling on the shuttle bus to take you from your parked car to the airport, when you're at a terminal. But these things should be what you practice. The more you practice, the better your skills get. And as you think about, and we're reaching the final type of rapport, not just the simple one where we know the same context, not the intentional one where you are more impromptu one, but we're looking at the specific, more intentional rapport building where you have to make an effort. So I'm going to show you, that's called custom rapport. So you have done your research, you're intentional, the person that you're approaching is there. So it could be a networking event or an attendee at a conference, and that's the example I'll show you. Enza is asking for the gentleman with the newspaper. She says, probably will not disturb him. Seems like he's into and involved with his reading. And that's exactly right. That's why I put that there. You can back off with that and just say good morning. By the way, I was talking about being in different cultures and engaging in different countries, knowing one word. In Greek, it's kalimera, how you say good morning, or yasas, hello. You learn that in that language. It breaks the ice and it shows that you're making an effort to be there with people. So in the custom rapport, the rapport where you have to be more intentional, the rapport where you have to do your homework and put more energy, there are people that are less trained and there are people that are more trained. And I wanted to share the slide with you. And maybe, Shelby, we can share the slide, all the screen without me on the screen, and share that specifically, because, and then I will show you some examples. So when people reach out to others and they are less trained, the next slide, Shelby, please, they're less trained, they're more likely to just reach out and introduce themselves and stop to there. So they may not add a little more as they introduce themselves. I'm talking about the left-hand side. They may make context comments, a lot of context comments, and continue to make them when the person is not engaging. And I'll show you what I mean by that. They may allow longer pauses. And when you first meet a person, it's awkward when there's a lot of pausing. The person that's more skilled will fill the silence quickly. So I'm showing you from the left to right. They may not take turns. They may talk a little too much. Someone who is more skilled at rapport building, more trained, will go back and forth. Think about this sort of, and they will lead, they'll let the other person lead. They may recycle rejected topics. This is based on a research study that looked at how people did, people that were well-trained or that were more skilled or more accustomed to this. And you'll see in the example, Dawn talked to me about Zumba, where I know nothing about Zumba. And she keeps talking about a topic that I'm not rejecting, but I don't have any information. People that are well-trained in rapport building will introduce new topics. And finally, people that are less trained will listen in silence. The people that are better trained will give more verbal and non-verbal encouragers. Wow, that's interesting. So I will show you two videos, one with my friend Dawn. Dawn Wisher is a colleague of mine in the Kelley School of Business, where she meets me. We're playing this out. And this video is a little dated, although it does do a good job showing this. So we pretend I was the keynote speaker. I was talking about stress management. She approaches me at the end. On the first one, she's a little bit more timid. She recycles the projects, or she recycles the comments. And I want you to notice, and if you're in the comments, what makes the most impression on you? What stands out to you the most? Let's play the first video, Shelby.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, my name is
Turn it up a little
Tatiana.
bit.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
I was just in your session.
Oh, you were. Thank you
Yes.
so much for coming.
Mhm.
What's your name?
Oh, I'm Dawn.
Dawn.
Mhm.
Dawn, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for coming to my session.
Oh, yeah, it was interesting.
Did you find the information to be helpful to you in your
Yes.
work?
Yes, it's very helpful.
Are you from Muncie?
Yes, I'm from Muncie and I live in Indianapolis now.
You live in Indy. Do you have a stressful job?
Yeah, it's pretty stressful right now, especially.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you came to my session, Dawn.
Yeah. Yeah, I just started taking Zumba classes. Have you heard of Zumba?
Zumba. Yeah. Actually, I've heard of it. I've never taken the classes before.
Oh, you haven't taken them?
No.
Yeah, I mean, I've been taking them, and it's really good.
It is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there are lots of people that do Zumba.
Yeah, it's popular.
Mm-hmm. I really like it. It's good.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, let's pause here. I want to know what stands out to you. Dawn is, by the way, she does a fantastic job. She teaches communication courses as well, and she does a great job with that. But does anything stand out to you? Do you see the Zumba conversation? Do you see the comments that she is not making? Does anything stand out to you from that? Monreco said body language. she looks down a couple of times. She's not as comfortable engaging in this way. She'll do a better job in the next one here. Anything else? Did anything else stand out to you? Did he hear you also say, this is not related to the video we just watched. I feel like being on a flight and the person next to me doesn't pick up the cues, earplug. Honestly, Didi, I'll tell you, sometimes when I don't feel like talking on a flight, I pull out the book and I put on the earplugs, and that's a way to keep from conversing. So the person may be doing it intentionally, and it's okay. Not everyone needs to be connecting. Enza is saying she seems to be struggling to come up with engaging topics. Exactly. So when you are going to that intentional rapport, you should have some open-ended questions. I was the speaker, we're pretending. And if you noticed, I'm talking more than Dawn was speaking. So she should be listening to my presentation. She should be writing down some questions she wants to ask me. And Samuel says she looks like she wants out of there. It's true, but you can read her body language. It says, I would say, you're talking about Dawn. Yeah, gets very short answers and mm-hms. So now she is a fantastic, turned this around, built her skills, and did this again. So let's see the good example, which is really the example that I should just show you and not show you the bad one.
Hello, my name is Dawn. I was just in your session.
Oh, thank you so
Nice
much.
to meet you.
I remember front row.
Yes, I was the one taking notes.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks. I appreciate those front row people.
Oh, no, it was really interesting. I'm getting ready to start an extremely stressful project right now, so I needed that information.
You need the stress management. Where do you work?
I work at a public relations firm in Indianapolis.
Oh, okay. So you
Mhm.
need a little stress
Oh,
management.
yes. Now, where are you from? Are you from Indiana?
I
Open-ended question.
I'm
Nice.
from
You see
Athens,
that?
Greece, quite
Oh,
far
wow.
away. Yeah,
A little bit.
Yeah.
Now, how did you get into this field?
Oh, it's a long story.
That's another great. You
First
see
degree
that
in
open-ended question?
exercise
How did you get into this
So some
field?
of the
So
performance anxiety and stress management and some of those issues are things that I studied well first on in
That
my
makes
education.
sense. Yeah. Okay.
So
right? So she has 2 to 3 questions. How do you get into this field? You know, what's stressful about your job? That if you are going to be intentional with rapport building, you definitely want to step that up and practice those. Her response shows she's listening and she's engaged. So as you may ask a friend, if you're new at doing this, go to the conference together, say, I'm going to approach someone, watch me in action. So that rapport building that we talked about, that's the intentional rapport, you need to be thinking and practicing some of the open-ended questions. You need to be looking at context, whatever it is that you have in common. I have a course on communications, communication starters, elaborate answers, voice and tone of voice variations. Absolutely, she looks more engaged, but she may not naturally be this way. She may be putting up an act in order to make a connection. And if you need and you want to do that, that's appropriate and that's just fine. Hermione says she was enthusiastic, energetic, interested on the presentation. Samuel says this one is better, she's more engaged. That's right. And Samuel, sometimes from a learning standpoint, we do the bad way and the good way, but we don't do it too bad. The word I was thinking, Dawn is a fantastic improv instructor, and that's why she does that specifically. The conversation flowed is more relaxed here. There's more warmth and friendliness, absolutely. But again, Dawn may have to practice doing it this way. So I wanted to close with another example that's intentional rapport, and let's see if you pick up on some of the things. But before we leave, I want you to think about what's the one context. You need to not tell me anything about details or who you want to connect with, but I'd like for you to set a goal and set and find one upcoming event. Again, it could be a conference, it could be a virtual, which, by the way, before we show this, Shelby, I didn't talk a lot about building rapport virtually. And what I mean by this is you stumble onto my live event or you see something I've posted, you want to get to know me a little more, you reach out and you do a private message, or you make a note on something that I have posted, or all of you are sharing questions here. Some of the people I already recognize from previous places. That is intentional. That is intentional rapport building. And you want to be able to repeat it and come back and do that, even with people you don't know. I have reached out, called so many people on this LinkedIn platform, because I do think it does create connections. I've made so many good professional friends that I sometimes, in some cases, I've never met. And it's very, very rewarding. So I wanted to give that caveat. I will show you one more example, and this is a more professionally done video. And it's from my LinkedIn Learning course on conversation starters. And I show the example. See if you can pick up all of the things that are positive that our protagonist does. And you'll also notice a cameo appearance. Let's roll it.
This is a big convention center. Can't find any of the sessions without a map, that's for sure. Did you just attend a session? Actually, yes, I went to the keynote. Wasn't she amazing? I really enjoyed her message. Have you watched her speak before?
No, that was my first time, but you're right. She was so good.
I can't help but notice you're also on the speaker faculty.
Yes, this is my first time invited to speak here.
Congratulations. What's your area of research?
Communication analytics.
That field is growing fast, isn't it? I'll make a note on the schedule and be sure to attend your presentation this week. Thanks for taking the time to chat. It was a pleasure to meet you. I'm Michaela, by the way.
I'm Karen. I'm on tomorrow at 2 p.m., so I hope you can make it.
Absolutely. Where are you headed?
Conference room 15.
So that's all the way down the hall to the left. It's the first door on the right.
Great.
Well done.
Did you see the cameo appearance in the back, me making coffee? By the way, this was sped up at 1.25, so they seem to be talking a little quickly, but that's okay. It makes the video a little quicker to watch. Tell me the things that you noticed that she did. I'm not going to give them away. What were the things that she did as she approached the person she just met? What did she notice? Smiles, compliments, and short conversations. Absolutely. So nonverbals, open, smiling, short conversation. She made a comment about this convention hall is impossible to find things in, right? So she made a comment that was a common comment. Very good observation. What else did you notice that she did? I feel like I'm in class where I ask an open-ended question, but there's connection problems here and it's much slower, but there's quiet. And then someone says something. She offered information, right? She offered to help her, show her around where the convention was. She noticed one thing. So she opened the conversation about the keynote speaker that they just both came out of. And then if you notice, she said, oh, I noticed you're a speaker as well. I mean, that is such good attention to detail. And then the person obviously was flattered. Yeah, sure, come to my session. You never know. I have met people at conventions like this that I'm still friends with and have connected. So they shared a commonality. And as Shelby says here, she said she would follow up and she would join her session. So again, being attuned, being attentive. My friends, if this seems so difficult, you have to start from somewhere. It's really important to practice these skills, and you cannot practice them with a video camera. You have to go out there in the jungle of life and practice them and get feedback or have some friends watch you doing it, because it will really help you professionally and personally. So rapport building, it can be very natural when you share context. It can be in the same context, but it's more impromptu and it's making it more difficult. And it has to, or it could be more customized. It has to be more intentional, where you do your homework and you come in very well prepared. Thank you so much for noticing my job. My goal was to keep you at 35 minutes because I know everyone has busy lives, but I wanted to say a big thank you for joining us today and taking time all the way from Washington State and from many different parts of the world. I appreciate it. In July, we'll be taking a holiday break, both from Stronger and the LinkedIn Live. We'll be back in August with great topics that are very helpful and always working on making your communication skills stronger. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you for joining.